It's me, it's CGB, it's you, this is CovertGo 2, and we're going to answer the question, are control players bad people? Well, no, I don't have a biased take on this whatsoever, but many of you have opinions. Let's get right into it. In early access recently, I played a game against Felipa Carolla, who has a YouTube channel, and she posted the game on YouTube. And we get this beautiful comment from Reapersaurus, who chimes in with, only an unmitigated bad person like CGB would bring blue-white control board wipe super friends to a early access event. LOL! This person went on to leave some rather negative and nasty comments on my own channel. Well, do they have a point? Are control mages terrible? Are they terrible for bringing such decks to early access events? Am I a bad person for trying to shut down what the opponent does? This is a very contentious thing. Since the days of me recording videos, I've had people sounding off in comments that I am a terrible person. Anytime I post, especially a deck with no particular win cons, just a total shutdown blue-white deck, I will always get those people letting me know that I am the scum of the earth, the worst possible dreg of humanity, the true cause for all evil on planet Earth because I countered a spell. Yeah, I think that rational people will stop, reflect, and they'll say things like, well, no, that doesn't make any sense. But I'm going to bring up a few points which might help some people who do at least have this mindset or have it pop into their head sometimes. It might help them mentally deal with the situation and fully walk their way through the situation of what is a control mage, what is just generally a toxic bad behavior, and what makes this strategy so tilting for them. First of all, the defense of the control mage. Your Honor, I would like to present my defense. Magic cards, quite honestly, in their design, are made to make a good amount of people salty. They are not made, all of them, to make you happy. Some amount are. But a lot of them are made to make you mad, to frustrate you, to lead to blowouts, to destroy the thing that you created. Why would the card Counterspell exist and even be reprinted several times through the game's history and have variants of it reprinted? Do you think that Wizards threw these cards in the file, but of course didn't test them, didn't know what they would do, and can't believe that they're out there making people upset? No, they know very well that you get triggered by being countered because there is an audience that enjoys countering spells. They also know that when you beat somebody who countered their spells, when you had to work for it, that you get a feeling that is different from just winning another aggro mirror or another game where you ran your opponent over in 3 or 4 turns. They know that that feeling doesn't really last, does it? You who plays mono red all the way from bronze to mythic, you don't really remember those games, do you? They flow in and they flow out. You remember, though, that deck that tried so hard to shut you down, but you were able to persevere and outmaneuver and destroy. It tastes better, just like losing to it tastes worse. See, life is nothing without emotional highs and lows to balance it out. Control mages, or in my case, aggro mages, whichever you're wired to be more opposed to, serve an important purpose that keeps you coming back to Magic. You need a villain. It's probably why you still watch this channel. You need somebody, something out there to just kind of inspire that creativity and that drive and that desire to win. These opposite poles bouncing off each other is what makes things interesting. In boxing, the saying is that styles make fights. When you have 2 people with the same style, a mirror match basically, nobody gets very excited about mirrors. Okay, not nobody. There is a very small percentage of people who get excited about mirrors. But for the most part, in battles, you get most interested and connected to where the sides are different. They fight for different things, different objectives, different ways of winning the game. Control provides that. And while it's very frustrating to people when it works, it's also worth noting that Wizards has identified that it is so frustrating to players when it's good and when it's S tier that players don't want to play anymore. They take time off. I think Wizards has identified that because, quite frankly, this is a tough one. Wizards hasn't made control very good for a while. I think that the last great control deck was blue-white with Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, as the only win con, propped up by an absolutely nasty Planeswalker, and I can even hear an argument for that deck being truly toxic. In fact, the best S-tier-ish blue-white control decks, or serious control decks of the past several years, were indeed that level of toxic where they won with Elixir of Immortality, reshuffling their graveyard into their library, waiting for you to deck, or Teferi Ultimate, followed by Teferi tucking itself, waiting for you to deck. Those kind of things are not exactly play patterns that the world wants to see, even if they are fun for a small handful of us who like to achieve such total lockdown. So Wizards works against that, and they haven't made control nearly as powerful. In fact, they've made the mid-range and aggro strategies so powerful. All the colors seem to have access to card advantage. All the colors have access to resilient threats. Abilities like haste and enters the battlefield triggers and things that get played out of the graveyard are so common nowadays that truly locking an opponent down is insanely hard to do if that opponent knows what they're doing. So while control continues to flounder around the B tier or so, people continue to hate on it and put it down. For example, this person who's very opposed to it being in early access event. And maybe this person's comments are directed because I played it in an early access event where everybody is trying to do crazy stuff in their opinion. But here's the thing. They don't tell you what to play in early access events. It's not exactly supposed to be a jank fest. And if it were, would it really be that entertaining? Would achieving any of these things mean anything if nobody tried to stop the other person? Would it really, really matter? Some people don't want it to matter. They want pure entertainment content. But a lot of people, especially Magic players who like to optimize, they tune in because they want things to matter. And trust me, nothing matters if there's no resistance. Like I said, styles make fights. And when you beat that arch enemy, the feeling of that gratitude is stronger than something that the typical game can produce. It's important. We provide that by supplying decks that we hate. I hate Cat Oven. I am vocal about how much I hate Cat Oven and Anvil and decks like it. I was extremely vocal in a recent video about hating the Toxic deck. And just I basically emoted through the whole thing that I did not want to die to poison. These things are intentional. Some people paint me as a very loud, whiny YouTuber, but I do go very far with it at times because I know that I am a conduit, a voice for the people who also suffer in that way, and that these emotional connections, either from winning or losing in these situations, create for more explosive content. It is, in many ways, natural, but also strategic, and that's important to understand. It's important to know that when a new player is learning how to play Magic, they probably lose to control a lot, leading to a lot of frustration. Many do not want to learn how to beat control, but those who do learn how to beat control and get those wins, they have a level up moment as players. It gives them a gratification that most games can't produce. Some players will never learn how to beat control, will continue to go on Reddit and into YouTube comments and complain ad nauseum whenever they see control. And some people just find it boring to watch. They find no inspiration from watching a control mage take over the game. But at the very least, you have to say from watching and reading these comments that people like to root against control. So while control may not have won at the end, and you might have some feelings about that you need to vent into the keyboard, if your deck, if your favorite streamer had won that game, would you be in there saying, hell yes? Would you feel great about it? Would you feel completely different? I bet that you would. So the fact that you got invested is not a failure of the game, and it's not a failure of the player or the creator. It is actually a triumph. It's what it's designed to be. It's supposed to represent something that's hard to do, and you achieve it. Having people roll over and just not play the cards you don't want them to play is not going to achieve that. So don't villainize people for playing the game. These cards are legal. If you have a play group or a friend who is always playing control, I think that it is fair, reasonable to ask for a break from that person's deck or style, but don't tell them never play that again. They're playing it for a reason. They enjoy it. Don't tell people what to do is a general good advice for most adults because, telling people what to do, it doesn't usually work the way you want it to. They'll rebel against it. This is probably the same behavior that when we say no with something like a counterspell in-game triggers them so deeply. So ordering your friends what to play, when to play, and where to play it probably won't go well. Asking for a break, I think, is reasonable. But remember, they bought and crafted their cards and they enjoy them. They have the right to play them. Now, if you don't like it, get good. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I'll see you in the next one. You're cool.